What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. And there is a lot going on here. If you know, the January 6th hearings are going on here right now, and there's just been a bombshell testimony that has gone on here. And there's a lot of people saying that this could lead to former President Donald Trump being criminally indicted. I'll let you hear some excerpts of the testimony. This is from a former White House aide. She's an aide. She was an aide to Mark Meadows, who was the chief of staff to former President Donald Trump. So, apparently this is evidence that directly links. Well, I'll let you hear it for yourself, and you can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. But this is very, very big news, and this is kind of, one of the major things going on here in our country. It just seems like there's so much going on here right now. All of a sudden, we've had Roe versus Wade. We've had this gun safety bill. We have the January 6th hearings. There's really a lot just going on here right now. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on new videos, and I will keep you up to date here. So take a listen to this and then let me know your thoughts down below in the comments.
Today's hearing delivered the blockbuster evidence, smoking gun firsthand accounts on both Trump's corrupt state of mind and overt acts to advance violence and that attempted coup. Let me just repeat that reporting up front. Proving a crime requires proving the state of mind and overt action. Today's hearing featured a loyal Trump aide's firsthand eyewitness testimony on Trump's state of mind and actions. Hutchinson testifying Trump knew those supporters that he had summoned were armed. He said so. He expected their violence and basically said, in closed company, but overheard in a manner that's now been delivered under oath, he said that would be fine because that violence, if it commenced, would be directed at others, not him. Hutchinson testifying Trump tried to order the Secret Service to admit armed supporters into his crowd where then they could go to the Capitol, a likely illegal order to help armed rioters who would then criminally trespass and criminally attack police and try to do much worse against the United States government. That is new today. That is evidence under oath from a Trump loyalist that Donald Trump abused his power over the government and the Secret Service and law enforcement to try to overthrow the government and get law enforcement injured or killed. Among other things, just imagine being in the Secret Service or law enforcement and hearing your commander-in-chief order the illegal admittance of armed people, including reports of AR-15s in the crowd, and we know what those can do, while you risk your life and limb to protect that commander-in-chief. The testimony and now revealed White House documents show Trump intended to join them at the Capitol. He ordered the agents to take him to the Capitol. And before we turn to this excerpt that we are going to play for you, remember, these hearings, this possibly most consequential hearing today, these are not about what anyone thinks of Donald Trump. And they're not about what you guesstimate seems obvious about all of this and how it went down, even if we all pay attention and have our own ideas. This is a congressional investigative subpoena-backed process. It's already led to some indictments. This is the real thing. And so today, this hearing is about the actual evidence and record, which is new and damning, specifically regarding the former president.
I remember looking at him and saying, Rudy, could you explain what's happening on the 6th? We're going to the Capitol. It's going to be great. The president's going to be there. Mark said something to the effect of, there's a lot going on, Cass, but I don't know. Things might get real bad.
I recall Tony and I having a conversation with Mark, mentioning knives, guns in the form of pistols and rifles.
There's an individual in a tree. He's got blue jeans and a blue jean jacket, and underneath the blue jean jacket, the complainant's both saw stock with AR-15.
Bear spray, body armor, spears, and flagpoles.
Two of the individuals in that group at the base of the tree near the porta potties, they had Glock-style pistols in their waistband.
We got 3 men walking down the street in fatigue carrying AR-15. Copy at 14th and Independent.
Have you talked to the president? And Tony said, yes, sir, he's aware too.
Was he told again in that conversation that people couldn't come through the mags because they had weapons?
Correct.
He was effing furious.
You know, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in. Take the effing mags away. He felt the mags were at fault for not letting everybody in. He wanted it full, and he was angry that we weren't letting people through the mags with weapons.
Just to be clear, Ms. Hutchinson, is it your understanding that the president wanted to take the mags away and said that the armed individuals were not there to hurt him?
That's a fair assessment. There were many discussions the morning of the 6th about the rhetoric of the speech that day. Fight for Trump. We're going to march to the Capitol. I'll be there with you. Fight for me. Fight for what we're doing. Fight for the movement.
We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
It was becoming clear to us and to the Secret Service that Capitol Police officers were getting overrun at the security barricades outside of the Capitol building, and they were short people.
Staff believed that Mogul, the president, was, quote, going to the Capitol.
We have a breach of the Capitol! Breach of the Capitol! We lost the line! We lost the line!
When President Trump left the ellipse stage at 1:10, the staff knew that rioters had invaded the inaugural stage.
I called Mr. Ornato to reconfirm that we weren't going to the Capitol. We were not going up to the Capitol.
We were not going up to the Capitol amidst the march, the breach, the violence against the officers. It was red alert level. And then the other part that is most significant today and most legally damning for Donald Trump, accused of crimes in office, is that when the agents refused his insistent, repeated request that he go join the armed protesters, who some of these agents had heard him say he wanted to be admitted armed so they could go do whatever it was they'd all planned to do together. But the agents refused for Donald Trump, then President Trump's safety. We learned today the extent, absolutely extreme extent that Trump acted. And keep in mind, if a different person inside the government did this, had physical contact, initiated a physical clash with an agent, they would not only be out of a job, they would be detained on the spot. Here's more of what we learned in the bombshell evidence against Donald Trump today.
Bobby had relayed to him, we don't have the assets to do it. It's not secure. We're going back to the West Wing. The president had very strong, a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now. To which Bobby responded, sir, we have to go back to the West Wing. The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol. Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
Yeah, so you can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. This is major, major news that is hitting here. And, this is coming from, an aide that worked for White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who, was the Chief of Staff for former President Donald Trump. So, this is some serious, and, she said this under oath. So really, I don't even know where to go from here. But next, we will have a former prosecutor, chief prosecutor from Watergate, to kind of fill us in here on where this could go with criminal prosecution, to kind of give you an idea on this of where it could go. So here is this, and you can let me know your thoughts on this.
Our special coverage begins with former Watergate prosecutor Nick Ackerman and the New York Times' Michelle Goldberg. Nick, what is the level of this testimony as criminal evidence?
It's pretty spot on. I mean, what we didn't know about before today, and we had a hunch, at least it was my hypothesis, that Trump knew 2 days before January 6th that Vice President Pence was not going to do his bidding. He was not going to send the electoral votes back to the states. He wasn't going to disregard them. So what it showed today was that Trump's final game plan was to use violence, was to stop the vote of the electoral count through violence.
Is this, I'm just pressing you on this for precision, in your mind, is this the first time we've had an eyewitness inside the Trump White House directly link him to encouraging armed violence?
That's right. Before, we had nobody, not and forget inside the White House, we had no evidence linking Trump to the violence. Remember, at his second impeachment hearing, he was claiming that his statements at the ellipse were simply guaranteed by the First Amendment. He was trying to encourage his supporters who were disappointed in the fact that he lost the election.
And let's dig in on that. In fairness, there are politicians who say all kinds of things in speeches. The Supreme Court has actually given a wide berth for that.
Right.
And so at that impeachment, as you mentioned, that's what I'm referring to. Outside the White House, there are people who said they read that as directly incitement. Incitement is a crime. Other people said, well, that's a tough case to prove, or tie goes to the president. It wasn't incitement. Today, Nick, today you have the White House aide loyal to Trump in the room on site detailing that when he was told people had weapons, he tried to further their access to then be on site with those weapons. And what do people do with weapons? Potentially use them.
That's right. What else were they doing with those weapons there? It's a whole different story. I mean, it'd be different if he was talking to an aged group of people that were there on their walkers. That was not the situation. He knew that people had AR-15s, that they had Glocks, that they had other kinds of weapons. But yet he was using the language he did, which his own counsel, the counsel to the president, told him he should not use.
And before I bring in Michelle, just again to you as a prosecutor, would that be an illegal order?
Yes, it would be. I mean, I think what you've got now is a setup for a real thorough grand jury investigation. We know this happened. Now the question is, what can you prove? What's hearsay? What's admissible? But you've got people like Meadows who could be put into a grand jury, and if he refused to cooperate, the government can give him immunity. You've got lots of people that were privy to all of this, and you've got the makings of a real case against Donald Trump at this point.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here in the comments. And what do you think will come of this? Do you think that we could see a grand jury here? And it does seem like if this goes forward here, it still could be a while. Still could be a while. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here down below in the comments, and I will keep you up to date here. This is, you know, definitely huge, huge major news going on here. And we'll see. Also here going on here, we have a really kind of sad situation. Really, it's a situation that happens all too much. And that is, 51 migrants were found dead inside an abandoned Texas trailer truck as they were likely coming across the border illegally. Yeah, and the problem, we all know that there's just a massive, massive problem with the border here, and it's been going on for a long time, and it's getting worse. And this is I think that almost everybody acknowledges, or most people acknowledge, that this is a major problem here. And the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, lashed out after 46 migrants found dead and more went to the hospital. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said, quote, "These deaths are on Biden." You can let me know if you think this is, if that's fair to say or not. Here's what the Texas governor said.
The thing that struck me is exactly what you said, and I want to elaborate on it. He said that he is doing everything possible to stop human smuggling. That's a lie. He has stopped doing everything that had been done to address human smuggling. He has eliminated all of the border security efforts that were put in place by President Trump. It was just a year and a half ago when we had the most secure border in decades, and today we have a worse human smuggling problem than ever before.
Yeah, the Texas governor says that at least 42 people, it's now 46, and more went to the hospital as well, were found dead inside this truck carrying migrants in Texas. These deaths are on Biden. They're a result of his deadly open border policies. They show the deadly consequences of his refusal to enforce the law. Yeah, so this is a problem that has been going on here for a while. And what's interesting about the border wall, you can see here, Fox News poll, half of voters support the border wall, which actually matches an all-time record high. While voters have mixed views on the wall, 50% who favor it today matches the record set in 2015. 46% who oppose it is a new low. There's probably 4% who are unsure. So 50% is actually an all-time high. 46% who oppose it is a new low. It's actually pretty even, almost 50-50 here, even though the border crisis is basically at an all-time worst here. And, this new incident here is, brings light to it here yet again. My thoughts are on the border wall is that it's there to prevent illegals, people who are illegally crossing. And this is where I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, and I like to look at each view, separately. Not Democratic, not Republican. And, my thoughts are is that if you want to come into the country, do the necessary paperwork. Don't try to come in illegally. Because if you're coming over in a semi-truck with hundreds of people, I mean, that's just not the way to do it. You're coming over illegally. Do the paperwork, come in the correct way. I mean, even Vice President Kamala Harris, who, has been very criticized for her, border role because, Biden put her in charge of this. But even she says, she made that kind of famous speech where she says, don't come. You can come. You just have to come the correct way. And this is where, former President Donald Trump with the wall is actually there just to stop the people who are coming over the border illegally and smuggling people in and smuggling who knows what else, drugs and, so this is kind of the problem here with that whole situation. And like, it's been going on for a long time. It's been going on since before Biden and before Trump. I mean, it's been literally going on for probably 100 years. I don't know, decades at least, right? So this is kind of the problem here. In fact, Texas is actually building parts of the wall or building the wall now themselves with their money. Texas makes up a majority of the border themselves, but not all of it. So yeah, like I said, we got a lot of different issues here still going on here. We have the border, which actually, if we go back several months ago, the border crisis was actually the number one thing on Americans' mind, the number one crisis. So when polling was going on here, that was the number one thing on everybody's minds. Then it was kind of the pandemic. And even though the pandemic's still going on and the border crisis is going on, now it's inflation. But from time to time, or even still pretty often, the border crisis, these things pop up. Gun safety, we've had school shootings, and, those things really came to light here recently. And a gun safety bill did pass. Some people say it's not enough. Some people say, well, at least we got something done. Some people say, well, this infringes on our rights. But even a lot of Republicans and middle of the road people like Joe Manchin, who considers himself an avid shooter, says if you're a law-abiding citizen, this isn't going to take away any rights from you. So the question here is, are we doing enough? Are we doing too little? You know, with the border crisis, really, it seems like they're not really doing anything at this point. I mean, because what are they actually doing at this particular moment with the border crisis? I don't think there's really much they're doing here. But let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I will keep you up to date here with everything. Make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's a lot going on here. I will keep you up to date here. We just had some major stimulus videos come out here on stimulus checks that are going out here in multiple different states. I had several different videos going on here, but here's one of the most recent videos. You can click on this here. And if you have student loans, or if you know anybody that has student loans, click on this video here, because there's billions of dollars that were just forgiven. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.